Okay, Rabotai, excited to do this. Many people have asked in the past that we go through a model Seder according to the Minhag, the Moroccan Minhag, what is done. And the truth is that it's a very hard thing to go through and say this is exactly how it was done, because the families do things, and there are slight differences between different families. Overall, it's more or less the same minhag, but the guiding light is that you do whatever was done in your father's home. And if you're not sure what was done in your father's home, then you rely on what's written in the Shulchan Aruch or what I'm going to mention tonight. But definitely, it's important to remember that whatever I say over here is obviously excluding if you've seen something done in your parents' house. There were things that I have seen in halacha that I thought what was done in our home was for sure against halacha. And then I looked into it and I saw that it had what to rely on. And I'll give you examples. I wish I had more props over here, but my props are not the best, as you're going to see. There's I don't have the different zeroa, but I try to make it as much as possible that we could relate to it. So let's start with preparing before the Seder. On the night of Pesach, if a person is not going to come prepared, so basically that's what he's going to get out of the Seder. No pain, no gain. You're not going to work on it beforehand. You're not going to have a game plan, how to prepare. So basically, it's just going to fly by, and that's it. And here we have 2 Sidarim and Chutz La'aretz. So you have a double chance, but still, the first night you want to get it right as well. So the first thing to remember is to prepare properly. And the day of Erev Pesach is crucial to make sure that we are focusing on the children. That means that make sure the children go to sleep. If you can, you could go to sleep. Or your wife for sure should try to go to sleep a little bit to be more awake. Otherwise, they're going to come to Leila Seder and they're going to be sleeping. Defeats the purpose. We are having a golden opportunity once a year to instill in our children emunah and bitachon on this night. So we have to give it our all and make sure that our children are involved and are awake. And if you want to give them coffee, I don't know, maybe that'll work as well. And slip them a few caffeine pills. Maybe that'll work as well. But we got to keep them up. Yeah, we're good. And not only that, you also have to be prepared how you're going to sit on Leila Seder, and that's going to be very important because here, if you're going to be like the chairs are going to be next to each other, so how do you expect to lean? How do you expect to be comfortable? You have to try to make it as comfortable as possible, and you have to figure out, every person according to their logistics, how they're going to do it and how they're going to run it. So these are a couple of points even before we start. I wanted to mention 2 things. I want to mention about the wine because that's what we're going to start with, and then and then about the matzah, and then how to lean. Those 3 things before we get into the night of the Seder. Okay. Now, about the Arba Kosot, we spoke on Shabbat that the energy of the Arba Kosot is incredible. It's coming from Mochin De'ima. It's coming from we'll call it the energy from the female energy. That's why there's 4 kosot, keneged the 4 imahot. Whereas the matzah is the mochin de abba. It's coming from the male energy. And the mochin de abba is 3 matzot, like the 3 avot, shlosha avot. Right? And the 4 kosot has a lot more as well. I wanted to point out on these 4 kosot. It also symbolizes the 4 galuyot. It symbolizes the four exiles. It symbolizes the Olam hazeh, Yemot HaMashiach, Tchiat HaMetim, and Olam Haba. It's meramis to esh, ruach, mayim, afar, to fire, to wind, to water, to earth. It's meramis, as we mentioned, the Arba Guriot, Bavel, Madai, Yavan, and Edom. It's meramis to the 4 letters of Shem Hashem, Yud Kei Vav Kei. So there's a lot of stuff going on in Arba Kosot, right? There's a lot of important, we'll call it sodot, but it's rabbinic. It's rabbinic, but it has many reasons. Now, since it's rabbinic, so we are not going to be machmir on a very large shiur. Bichlal, in Morocco, most authorities held that we don't say that the shiur doubled. The Chazon Ish was of the opinion in regard to Revi'it, not in regard to Kezayit, but in regard to Revi'it, the amounts doubled. But the consensus of the poskim is that Rabbi Shalom Misas and others is that they did not double. So a Revi'it is a bitzah v'chetzi. So how much is a bitzah v'chetzi? I'm going to skip through all of the different calculations, and it's going to be 86 cc according to Rab Chaim Noi. How many ounces is that we mentioned? 2.9 ounces. So let's see. I have over here the measuring cup over here. Thanks to my granddaughter. Thank you very much. And this is set. This is around it. So this is 80 something cc. This. You'll see why it's important to know exactly how much it is. It's because it's much less than people think. So this is 3 ounces right now. Okay, so it's a little bit more. In one of these plastic cups, it's not very much. Not very much. Now, if that's the case, think about a cup like this, for sure has the Shiur Chazon Ish. So, in other words, let's see. Shiur Chazon Ish is double. So if we pour, this is around 3 ounces. Let's see if we get it. There's not such a big Kiddush cup, right? This is already Shiur Chazon Ish. This cup has Shiur Chazon Ish. It has 2 revi'its inside. Now, why am I saying this as so important? Because there is an advantage of drinking the whole cup. And it's an honor of the cup. But if a person can't drink the whole cup because too much wine for him is difficult, so it's better for him, instead of opting to grape juice, it's better for him to have a smaller cup. Okay? Second of all, to finish the whole cup, he for sure has to have most of the revi'it. I'm gonna get to that in a moment. Actually,
more about honoring the cup.
What?
Honoring the cup.
In other words, like this. The best thing is to drink a full cup of Shiur Chazon Ish. Okay, that's like, then you got all the opinions. I'm not saying that that's the halacha, and that was not the minhag. The minhag is to drink 1 revi'it, which is about half of this. Okay? Now, despite the fact that the minhag is just to drink half of it, but it's an advantage that the cup should be honored to drink the whole thing, besides the Shiur Chazon Ish. So if that's hard for you, get a smaller cup. That's number 1. Number 2, if you don't have a smaller cup, you don't have to finish the whole cup if it's going to be too hard and you know it's going to affect your night. So you should drink at least a revi'it. Now, for people that this is difficult, there were studies done that this 86 cc, which is 2.9 ounces, was based on a coin of the Rambam, the dirham, which they all thought was a certain measurement that the Rambam understood that the dirham was in his time. And through later studies, it was revealed that this dirham is actually a little smaller, which would mean that according to the studies, I'm skipping a lot of information here, but according to the studies, the Shiur Revi'it is really not 86 cc, it's 75 cc. So it makes it even smaller. Even making a smaller Shiur, 75 cc. So let's see where we get to over here. This is 70. This is 70. So it's even less than that. In one of these cups, I'm going to have this. It's even less than what I had originally, which is what? No, it's okay. Put it over here, because we're going to need it.
Oh, okay.
We're going to need it. So here you have the shi'ur. So why am I saying this? Although for somebody who it's difficult to have wine, they could have grape juice, nevertheless, it's an advantage, according to many opinions, to have dafka wine. Yain is misameach, it makes a person happy. It's definitely an advantage to have wine and to have good wine. That's number one, so you should have wine. Number two, not only you should have wine, you should have wine that's not mevushal, that is not cooked. Any Israeli wine like Yarden, then you'll find those are more likely to be non-mevushal than Herzog. Why? Because since in America there's so many non-Jews that could touch the wine and pour the wine, you'd rather not getting into questions, so there's a lot of mevushal wine in America. The Israeli wines and French wines that are very high quality are not mevushal, and that would be even a higher level, based on what the Shulchan Aruch writes in the laws of Yayin in Ilchot Shabbat, that non-mevushal wine is a higher quality. Now there are those, especially from Chabad, that are very careful not to have mevushal wine around the table, because they are machmir, that if somebody's going to somebody who's not Jewish is going to see the wine, it could taint it. It's a very big chumrah. It's not written in the Shulchan Aruch anyways. As a matter of fact, one of the great Moroccan rabbis, Rabbi Avram ben Musa, mentions it, but it's definitely not the normative halacha. And if a person wants to be careful with that, so he could, but he shouldn't give up on the mitzvah of having non-mevushal wine because of that. So non-mevushal wine is the best. Second, it should be red wine, because the pasuk talks about red wine. On top of that, for Leila Seder, remember, it reminds us of the different blood that we have to go through. Notwithstanding that there was a minhag not to have red wine, because we don't want the non-Jews to say all types of lies about us, about the blood libels. So, because of that, there were some people that never had red wine. But red wine is definitely the biggest advantage. So, you have non-mevushal, red wine is the best. If it's hard for you, you mix. If you could get grape juice that's not mevushal, that's great. They do sell grape juice that's not mevushal, especially in Pesach time. It's not easy to get, but they sell grape juice that's not mevushal. Otherwise, mevushal is fine. If you have white wine, that's better than your red wine, so you use the white wine, but you should mix it with a little bit of red, and that's not a problem even on Yom Tov and Tzviya. If you want to be machmir, you put in the red first, and then you pour in some white wine to make it mixed.
How about mixing the wine and the grape juice?
That's fine. If that makes it more pleasant for you and you like that, that's fine. And that's what I did for many years. I mix it. I'm not a wine drinker, but I would do that. I would mix a lot, and it still has some alcoholic content. So this color, for example, pretend this is wine, that is. This is white grape juice, right? So I would mix it in with red. Rosé, I actually have a friend of mine, a Talmid Chacham, who called me, he said he didn't know what the halacha was rosé. He asked a very big posek in Lakewood, and that Rav told him he doesn't know the answer. It's a very difficult question. Like brain death or not, that's an easy question. Whether rosé is red or not, difficult question. You never know, it's a hard question or not. So rosé, if you want to put in a little bit more red to make it darker, that would be great. Because I don't know exactly what the halacha of rosé is. Maybe it is red. Maybe Vicky want to paskin on that. I don't know. But
You mix the white and the red.
if you want to mix the white and the red, just make sure it looks red. But once again, white wine, even if it's mevushal, is kasher. But as an advantage, if you have red wine that's not mevushal, that would be the best. And that is more or less about wine. Women should also try to have a little bit of, mixture of wine in there to fulfill that mitzvah, because women are obligated just like men. If it's going to turn out that they can't hold their alcohol and it's not proper, some men can't hold their alcohol, some women can't hold their alcohol. So then obviously you have to be a chacham and do what's proper. Correct. So bubbly wine, sparkling is fine, right? If that's what you like, that's fine. Now, what is the halacha in regard to leaning? Okay, so haseba should be done by the matzah, for sure. Matzah is the only mitzvah that we have nowadays, says the Khatam Sofer, that we have a mitzvah min Torah to eat something specific. It's matzah. There is, and wine also. We have an obligation to lean. The Ashkenazim are a little more lenient on this, and they say that if b'di'avad, if a person didn't lean, there are opinions of the Ravya that maybe you wouldn't have to go back. According to Shulchan Aruch, if you drank wine and you didn't lean, a man has to go back. A woman does not have to go back, because she could rely on the Ravya that women, it's not their derech for them to lean, even though nowadays, even though in Morocco women didn't usually lean, but nowadays I wrote about this, and I think there are those who agree with me as well, that the women nowadays, they are more chashuvot, so their derech is to not having run to the kitchen back and forth all the time. They should lean, lechatchila they should be machmir, but if they don't lean b'diavad, it's okay. So a woman should lean, a man should lean, and if a man didn't lean, he has to go back. But what does leaning mean? People think that leaning is just, like this. If you lean like this, you didn't do anything, you have to drink it again. Why? I'm in the air over here. This is not comfortable for me. I'm actually very uncomfortable. Right? Yossi, I'm very uncomfortable right now. I don't know what to tell you. I'm very uncomfortable. This is not called leaning. When I'm going like this, I am basically suspending myself. Haseba means I am being comfortable. Rav Ben Zion Bashal would give a 45-degree angle for this. But how do you do it? If I go on someone else, that's not very comfortable for them. But if they let, okay, they let. And if it's a lady that you're not married to, so that's also not so comfortable. So you could lean like this. This is great. You could lean like this. But if you can't do that way, you could turn your chair and lean like this, but you have to lean on something, and you can't lean on yourself on your knee. The Shulchan Aruch says that looks just like you're worried. Armrest is great, but it doesn't have an angle all the time. Somebody else's armrest is much better, because then you could have a 45 degree. That's why I like the rest of the chair over here. Now this year I saw something unbelievable from Hagon of Shlomo Miller, and I will show you the example right now. I always had this problem. Notice how many stains and spills there are on people's shirts and ties and whatever else, right? Why? Because if you have a full cup and you are going to take the full cup and you are going to lean, it's going to spill. So listen to what Rabbi Shlomo Miller said you should do. What you should do is that you should take a big gulp without leaning, and then you lean and you swallow. Because when are you yotze the mitzvah? Once you swallow, right? Not when it's in your mouth. That's a genius solution for this problem. Very practical. The dry cleaners are not going to be happy with me, but I think the women of the house are. That as long as you don't have to have it spill all over, you drink and then you go like this. People say, "Oh, what are you doing? What are you doing?" I know what I'm doing. Yeah, I went to the shir beforehand, and I learned that this is something I could do. Okay, so that's about haseba. So far, so good. Let's get to the matzah, which we said is the energy from the Abba, from the Mochin de Abba. 3 matzot. Keneged Avram Yitzchak Yaakov, Keneged Kohen Levi Israel, Keneged Chochma Bina Vada'at. It has a lot of holy energy to it, and it's by the Seder plate. I do not have a complete Seder plate over here. Not only that, I have square matzot. Is Shmura square okay? According to Reb Shlomo Zalman Auerbach and others, it is fine. Many people like having a round matzot because that's avodat yad. They say the machine doesn't do lishma. Both are fine, but if you want to use the round ones, go ahead. If you want to use the soft ones, go ahead. They're all good as long as they have a good hechsher. So you have 3 matzot, one on top of the other. They're put on the Seder plate. Now, how is the Seder plate arranged? I'm sorry, once again, that I don't have the proper props for this. But the Moroccan minhag was to do as far as I know, the majority of the places it was accepted to do like the Seder of the Arizal, which is the Zeroa. Here you have over here the Zeroa on the top right, which is Keneged Chesed. The egg is the left, which is Gvura. The middle is the Maror, which is Tiferet. The bottom right is the Charoset. The bottom left is the Karpas, which is the celery. And then you have the sixth plate, which, that's how bad I am over here, I don't even have. You have the Charoset, the Chazeret, which is basically the romaine lettuce as well, which is, so you have two places of lettuce. You have the Charoset, you have the Zeroa, the Bitzah, the Karpas, and the three matzot, which usually we put on top, which is Chochma Bina Vadat, and the plate is Malchut.
Not under?
No. It's usually put on top. It's usually put on top, and then you cover the plate. We'll see why you cover it, and when you leave it open, and when you cover it. Okay? So far, so good. So that is the Seder plate. Improvised. Okay, so now I think we're ready to start the actual Leila Seder. I think we covered the background, and now we're actually ready to start Leila Seder. It's important that it flows. It's important that you go quickly, that you don't drag it along and lose people's focus. Nowadays, people are much more focused than they used to be. So it's not a problem. People's attention spans are much longer. But still, it would be... Yeah. But still, it would be a nice thing. Still, it would be a nice thing to make sure that we don't lose people's attention. In Hollywood, they're going to use all types of props. However you want it. Some edot are going to have, or even though they're very peaceful throughout the year, all of a sudden on Leila Seder they're throwing scallions at each other. Yeah, the Persians, they do that. Moroccans, all year round, it's going to be a party by them. Everyone according to their iddah. The Syrians have a beautiful minhag of imitating. Where did you go out? You went out from Mitzrayim. A lot of Moroccans have that as well. Everyone has their traditions. And you could add in stuff that you didn't see as well if you think it's going to engage everyone. It's not rocket science. However you think, you're going to get the children involved. There's no Torah obligation, listen to this closely, there's no Torah obligation to go through the whole booklet that your child brings home of having to say every single Dvar Torah that's in there for 300 pages. It's not a Torah obligation, it's not a rabbinic obligation. It could be done the next day as well. But if it gets them engaged in doing 1, 2, and unless you're not losing everyone else, that'll be okay. But you're not, you have to know how to balance, how to do a proper balancing act to make sure that everybody, older, younger, stays engaged. It's not simple. Because sometimes you're going to have somebody who's very advanced, somebody who's not so advanced, and you have to engage everyone. So that is the balancing act. So then we start to Leila Seder. Now we're getting to the 15 steps of Leila Seder. On Shabbat I mentioned that the 15 steps of Leila Seder, Kadesh, Urchatz, Karpas, Yachatz, Maggid, Rosam, Motzim, Matzah, Maror, Korech, Shulchan, Orech, Tzefun, Barech, Halel, Nirtzah. We say them every time. There's the famous Ashkenaz Nigun of Kadesh, Urchatz, Karpas, Yachatz, and then we have others that say Kadesh, Urchatz, Karpas, Yachatz, Maggid, Rachatzah, Motzim. Everyone has their Nigun. Everyone has their how they're going to sing, how they're going to say Kadesh, Urchatz, but it should be said. It's 15 steps. Rabbi David Abu Chatzera, we bring it down in the Abu Chatzera Legacy Hagaddah over here. He has 15 steps of Dayenu. How Dayenu of the 15 steps. All of that is Keneged, the 15 steps of the Kadesh Urchatz. We have the Maharal writes that there were 15 steps in the Bet HaMikdash, 15 Shira Ma'alot. Anytime that you are rising up, you have 15. That's why the Levana, there's 15 days till it gets complete and then it goes down. There's 15 is a is a concept of aliyah for 50 until you get to the 15th step. So to the point, the Gaon Mivilna, by the end of Leila Seder, by Shir Hashirim, he had an extra body experience. He would be lifted up, basically, and have to come back down. That's how holy the Leila Seder, the experience of Leila Seder is, that a person could rise up. So every single step is important. There's no skipping steps. It's all part of the experience of Leila Seder, that we are recreating the special light, that we were made into a Jewish nation, and we have the emunah in our heart and the emunah in our mind. That's why the emunah in our mind is through the yayin. The emunah in our heart is through the matzah. Each one has its components that we are instilling deep inside the emunah, and it's an unbelievable experience that we have the night of Leila Seder to recreate that. So let's go step by step. Kadesh. So by the halacha of Kadesh, it's very simple. Everybody has their cup of wine in front of them. Everybody has a cup of wine in them. When we get to Motzi Matzah, I'll discuss if everybody has their matzah in front of them as well. But for now, everybody has their cup of wine in front of them. And there are those who wash the cup between every cup. Me'ikar adin, that's the Ben Ish Chai writes this. Me'ikar adin, our minhag was not that way. You have to wash it at the beginning because it's an honor of the cup to be washed. But between the cups, you do not have to wash them according to strict halacha. There are some also who add in 3 drops of water. That's also based on Kabbalah. Me'ikar adin, once again, that was not the minhag, but if somebody wants to do that, matovu manaim, he could. Not saying that he can't be noheg that way if he wants to. I don't think his fathers did that way or his forefathers, but if that's something that he wants to do, it's a free country. So he starts with Kadesh. So the Balabait gets up and he starts saying, everybody stands up and everybody says together, Ele Moadei Hashem. Now by the Moroccan minhag, the nusach is very special, that everybody sings together, besides the actual bracha, where the balabait says the bracha. We're going to see soon that the minhag in most places in Morocco was that by Karpas and Maror, everybody said their own bracha. But by Kiddush, everybody says most of the Kiddush together, like all year round, but the actual bracha, the balabait says. So he starts, Ele Moadei Hashem Yikra'e Kodesh, Hashem Yikra'e Moadam Savri Maranan. Standing up, of course. Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech olam asher bachar banu mikol am veromemanu mikol lashon. And he goes on with Kiddush. If I continue, I'm just going to start crying. So it's so emotional over here. The Leila Seder is coming up. So after the Balabait finishes Kiddush, I do want to point out that there are many Moroccan communities, especially those from Marrakesh, that start off with the following: Leil shimurim hu ladonai leotsiam me'eretz Mitzrayim hu alayla ze ladonai shimurim lechol bnei Yisrael edorotam. And then they start Kiddush. I also want to mention that those who come from Tafilalet have a whole different Kiddush. It's an unbelievable Kiddush. It's a long Kiddush. I'll just start saying it. Elokeinu melech haolam asher kiddeshanu mikol am veromemanu mikol asher bachar banu veyigadelenu ratzah banu veyifa'arenu teruma hivdilanu mikol goy eretz chemda hinchil otanu Kiddush et shemo ba'olam biglal avod she'asur retzono. It goes on and on. Lehodia. It's an amazing nusach, and that's what they did many places in Tafilalet. From what I understand, in Tafilalet, they had a special Kiddush. They do Leila Seder. Either way, once somebody says Kiddush, obviously everybody answers Baruch Hu Baruch Shemo. That is the halacha, and that is the custom. Who writes that this is the halacha? Marana Shulchan Aruch in Siman Kuf Chav Daled writes, Al kol bracha u'bracha she'adam shomea oneh Baruch Hu Baruch Shemo. Where was the Shulchan Aruch talking about? In the laws of Chazarat Hashatz. What's the purpose of Chazarat Hashatz? That one is acquitting others, right? Sometimes nowadays he doesn't, but the Shulchan Aruch is talking about even in that case, which is the primary case that somebody does Chazarat Hashatz, and on that the Shulchan Aruch writes, you answer Baruch Hu Baruch Shemo. Based on that, the Chikrei Lev the Rav Chaim Palaji, the Ma'aseh Rokeach was the first one, says that we answer Baruch Hu Baruch Shemo. Notwithstanding, the Mishnah Berurah is posek not to say Baruch Hu Baruch Shemo, and those who follow the Mishnah Berurah will not answer Baruch Hu Baruch Shemo. But our custom throughout the generations, we're talking about the Orach Chaim Kadosh and all of the big thousands and thousands of Gdolim that lived in Morocco. They answered Baruch Hu Baruch Shemo, and as we know, Baba Sali would be upset. Anybody who doesn't answer Baruch Hu Baruch Shemo at the table, he would wait, and the person wouldn't answer. He would say, "You think you're better than my grandfather, Rabbi Yaakov Abu Chazer." In one case, there was some Bachurim in. I'm sorry, on a tangent. This is an emotional thing by me. There was Bachurim that came and didn't answer Baruch Hu Baruch Shemo. He asked them not to come back at the table the next day. He said, you think you're better than your forefathers? I'm sorry, I can't do that. Okay, but free country, once again, I'm just saying that definitely people who answer Baruch Hu Baruch Shemo and the one who's Mevarech, he should wait for them to answer, and then everyone answers Amen. Okay, then we go to Urchatz. Urchatz is basically we wash our hands, and as we know, we wash our hands without a bracha. Now, what's the purpose of washing our hands without a bracha? Because we're about to dip the vegetable. Why are we dipping the vegetable? It's many reasons. Of Karpas, we are dipping the vegetable in order to remind us of the bitter tears, or of whatever reasons you're going to have your children say by Karpas. You wash your hands without a bracha. Why? Because davar shetibulo b'mashke, somebody that a person dips, he doesn't make a bracha nowadays. Now, what happens if by mistake he made a bracha? I saw a wonderful sefer, right? If he made a bracha, you know what he should do? He should say, Hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Take a little bit of matzah. That way it's not a bracha levatal. And then wait till later on to fulfill the mitzvah. I know, everyone's looking at me at shock. I saw Rav Shlomo Miller writes, what you should do instead is that you should rely on the opinions that even by davar shetibulo b'mashke, if you make a al netilat yadayim, there are opinions that say that's okay. You know who's those opinions? None other than the Rambam and the Gaon Mivilna held that way. So you're not that bad. You have an opinion to rely on. But if you did that, it would be a good thing to have a kezayit of the karpas. Usually we're going to see Shulchan Aruch says you should not have a kezayit of karpas. Okay, if I'm going too fast, I'm going to slow down. Urchatz is you're washing your hands for the karpas. How much karpas? Less than a kezayit. That's very little. Why less than a kezayit? Because if you have more than a kezayit, then you might have to make a borei nefashot. And you don't want to make a borei nefashot. Why? Because when you make a borei pri adama on the karpas, you have in mind to acquit the maror that you're having later on of borei pri adama. Because the maror, we're not sure if it's part of the meal of hamotzi or not. So therefore, the adama of the karpas, you have to have in mind to be yotze with the adama of maror. So if you're going to kazayit, you're going to make a borei nefashot, you lost that because you made an interruption. So when you made a bracha by mistake of al netilat yadayim, then you should have a kazayit of karpas. But otherwise, in that case, you shouldn't make a borei nefashot, even if you ate a kazayit. B'di avad will rely that it's part of the meal. Okay? But it's better to have less than a kazayit. So once again, you make al netilat yadayim without a bracha. You have karpas less than a kezayit. If you add more than a kezayit, it's fine. You still don't make a borei nefashot because we say it's like an aperitif before the meal. It's like having the eating.
For reference, kezayit is how many ounces?
We're gonna get to that. That's definitely gonna be a hot topic over here. Okay, so we have urchatz karpas. Oh. Does a person lean when he eats the karpas? So there are going to be two places where you don't lean: karpas and maror. And remember, you made a dama for the karpas for the maror. That's how you remember it. Notwithstanding, I saw there were families in Fez that would lean, and I found afterwards that the Abu Draham, which was many Moroccan communities followed the Abu Draham, especially in Fez, writes to lean by karpas. I'm in the middle of finding out by a few sources that I've asked if that was a widespread minhag or not. But most places, especially in Marrakesh and others, they don't lean by karpas. They don't lean by Karpas because it's to remember the bitterness of the Inui. There's an early source of the Shibur Le'aleket that says we don't lean by Karpas. So by Karpas, we don't lean. If you have a minhag to lean, lean. Lean on me. Right? Okay. So that's by Karpas. So, Kadesh, Urchatz, without a bracha. If you did a bracha, don't have the little amotzi. That's a wild solution. What you could do is that you should just rely that it's fine. Urchatz. Karpas. Less than a kazait. Yachatz. Kadesh, Urchatz, Karpas, Yachatz. Yachatz is cutting the matzah in half. According to Kabbalah, if you take a matzah, pretend this is round, but even if it's not round, you cut it, half of it, making a dalid, and the vav, which is the bigger part. So dalid and vav. Based on Kabbalah, I'm not going to get into those sources now. It's going to be pretty hard to do over here. The soft matzah, it's very easy. There you have it, as you have the picture there. So there, okay, I made a dalid, pretend I didn't mess it up. Here's a dalid, and here's the vav. The vav, which is the biggest piece, the bigger piece. You see, I made it a bigger piece. I put away as afikomen, and the dalid I put back as the middle matzah. You want to lift that up over here, this one, the first matzah. Okay, so I put the dalid back, and this is the afikomen that I hide. In Morocco, did they hide the afikomen and the children steal the afikomen? No, they didn't. Am I saying that you can't let your child look for it and ruin his Yom Tov and say, no, that wasn't our minhag? No, if you want to let him do it, go ahead. Knock yourself out. You let him steal it, whatever else. Although some Ashkenazim say that we're teaching a child to steal, that's not a good thing. So we didn't have this minhag of stealing the afikomen. But if your child's really looking forward to it, don't crush his dreams. Let him steal the afikomen. So here we have the afikomen, and it's zecher the korban pesach. The Brisker Rav would say that you have it next to you, like your shomer, the korban. You have it next to you, so you have over here your afikomen that you are keeping next to you.
So no hiding.
You could hide it if you want. I hide it
Because
I'm not going to be that my child comes home, comes to school the day after Pesach, and they say, so, did you find the afikomen? Oh, my father doesn't do it. I don't want him to go through that. It's true. Then I have to pay for a psychologist and whatever else. Well, what do we need that? Let him hide it and let him find it if that's what keeps him awake. That's the whole purpose of Leila Seder, to keep them engaged. So I'm not going to ruin his aspirations on that. So we hide the afikomen, and then we get to Yachatz. Now, by Yachatz, the Moroccans have a famous little piyut and song that they say, which is about a midrash, that this is when we broke the matzah. It's symbolizing how Bnei Israel are broke in the middle, and they went through the Yetziat Mitzrayim. And we say like this. In the Abu Chatzar Hagaddah didn't have this Hagaddah, but in the new ones we have it. In the new ones that you're going to buy this year, it was corrected. So before you break the matzah, right? Hagaddah sam alal bhar alat nas trik chin kruzus duda min masar ala yidisi down via Musa ben Amram chin fchum zatum nichmadas bial khriya. Which basically means this is how Kadesh Baruch Hu split the sea to 12 parts. It says Lebhar, which is the ocean, which is my last name, and how Bnei Israel came out of Mitzrayim through our master and our prophet Moshe, the son of Amram, and just like Hashem saved us from the Avdut Lecherut, Hashem should take us out of Mitzrayim. Now, if you're a modern Moroccan, you could say it in English. That's fine. That's what you could say. It doesn't sound the same, but go ahead. It's the minhag to say it in the original form has very important meaning on Leila Seder, to do it the same way that your forefathers did it, and then they did it, and then they did it. At some point, they didn't do it in Mitzrayim, so at some point they did switch. So you don't want to be the one that switches that, though. Okay? We're good? We're good so far? Okay. So there are Rabbi David Hassin has a piyut over here. Yom ze nehalel el shochen shamayim bibilu yatzanu mimitzrayim. He has a piyut before, because we're about to get to the bibilu yatzanu mimitzrayim. But just to finish Yachatz, we break the matzah, we put it away, and
bibilu you do before Yachatz.
No, we're about to get to bibilu. We do Yachatz first. Bibilu is, you have to remember, it's the opening statement of Halach Ma'anya. The Rambam's Hagaddah, he doesn't start Halach Ma'anya Mimitzrayim. He starts Bibhilu Yatzanu Mimitzrayim Halach Ma'anya. Yes, there's a correction for that also. Oh, I don't know if you which one. Yeah, so it's right by Halach Ma'anya. So we went to Yachatz. So Kadesh, Urchatz, Karpas, Yachatz. Now we're by Maggid. By Maggid is the night of saying over the story of Yetziat Mitzrayim. And here we obviously the Moroccan Minhag, famous Moroccan Minhag, is that everyone sings together. Bibhilu yatzanu mitzrayim halach ma'anya b'nei chorin. And there's the master of the home. He goes around with the Seder plate. He goes around 3 times. Many reasons to this beautiful minhag. One of them in the Rishonim, which is probably the most authentic reason, is that we do something so that the children should be awake and aware and asking. It's also connected to Ananei Kavod. The Seder plate has all of the tremendous. Remember, there's the 10 sfirot in the Seder plate. So imagine you're taking the Seder plate and you're going around somebody's head 3 times. Zecher le'ananei Kavod bibilu yatzanu mimitzrayim. And some people, they take turns and they switch the tone in the middle. Bibilu yatzanu mimitzrayim. And some people have different. Whatever your family is used to, there are those families in Marrakech that even had a fish bowl and live fish on the table. Leila Seder. Everyone has. Some had flowers on the table to remind us of the bloom of the in Mitzrayim. So we have the Maggid. We start off in a festive way of Bibhilu Yatzanu Mimitzrayim, and then we're getting to the meat and potatoes. Not yet, not the literal meat and potatoes, to the actual story of Leila Seder, which is which we start with Halach Ma'anya. Now, very important that at this point we leave the matzot uncovered. Okay, so we lift up the cover, we leave the matzot uncovered because it's lechem. It's bread, lechem oni, that's poor bread, but it's bread that we also onim alav, that we answer and we say on the bread. So it has to be in front of us at the time that we do the Hagaddah. Okay? So we start. Halach ma'anya diachelu avatana be'arad mitzrayim kol dechvin yeti so ve'chol kol ditzirach yeti v'yivsach. Go through the whole thing. Now, the minhag is that every person usually should they could say it and they translate it and they go around the room and everybody says and translate. However you could engage people in it. Some even say it in Arabic, but you don't want to lose the crowd that way. Some say it in Ladino, right? Those from Spanish Morocco say it in Ladino. Is that your father did it in Ladino? So they in other words, however you want it, however that you could engage the crowd. That's how you would say you would say the Hagaddah. There's 2 times where we cover the matzah. There's 2 times where we cover the matzah. Where? The first is by Vehi Amda. Why? I always wondered why. This year I think I found the reason in the Rokeach. The Rokeach writes that by Vehi Amda there's a great Kabbalistic reason. The Rokeach was one of the early Ashkenaz Mikubalim from Germany, and he writes at the 1200s, he writes that you pick up your cup while you say Vehi Amda. Vehi Amda lavote. Now if you're picking up your cup, it's embarrassing that the cup goes before the bread. So we cover the bread. What's the second? And then, after we finish Vehi Amda, we put the cup back down, we uncover the bread once again. We uncover the matzah once again.
Is that every time we lift the...
Right. What's the second time? There's only 2 times. What's the second time? Right before the bracha of Asher Ge'alanu of finishing off the Lefikach Anachnu Chayavim. I'm sorry, by Asher Baruch Ata Hashem Elokeinu Melech Haolam Asher Ga'alanu Ve'ga'al et Avotenu. At the end of Maggid, at the second cup, at the end of Maggid, so we cover the matzot again because I'm lifting up the cup. So anytime you have to lift up the cup, you have to cover the matzah for the honor of the matzah, that it shouldn't be secondary to the geffen. Just like on Shabbat, you cover the bread before you do kiddush. So those are two things. It's an easy way to remember it. Okay, so
then
yeah.
After the meal, you don't have.
After the meal already, we don't have the bread anymore, so we're fine. No, actually, no. I'm sorry. The third time, you're right, is lefichach anachnu chayavim leodot le'ele. Yeah, at the end of Hallel, when we say lefichach, we pick up the cup. We have to cover it again. You're right. I'm sorry. You're right, because we still have the. We still have the. No, actually, I think we finished. We finished with the afikomen. We don't have any more matzah left because we finished with the afikomen.
It doesn't matter that it's on the table or whatever.
Not sure. Not sure. Okay, so you stumped me. So we definitely, those two places we cover. Now, when we get through we go through the Maggid. Let's start from the beginning. Some say L'Shem Yichud. We start with Bibilu Yatzanu Mitzrayim Halachma Anya. By the way, it's a very interesting nusach. Bibilu Yatzanu Mitzrayim Halachma Anya, and then we say Bnei Chorin, which is Bnei Chorin, is in other words, yeah, in those words. And some say Bibilu Yatzanu Mitzrayim Lishana Ba B'Yerushalayim. So we start halachma anya diachula avatana, the manishtana, that we obviously you get the children to say. There are many Moroccan families that their children say the manishtana in Yiddish. Go figure. Depends what school they go to. Okay, so you continue, and we go through the whole story. Obviously, the more you prepare, the better it is. When we get to the part where we are saying there's three things: dam ve'esh utmurat ashan. Here I'm gonna need Daniel over here to come. So here by dam ve'esh ve'utmurat ashan. So there are two customs to this. The first custom is that it's usually the lady of the home. Sorry, well, yeah. So she'll take something of water. And every time I say dam ve'esh turat ashan, and we're going to do this 15 times. You're going to see, because there's going to be 3 times over here. So we say dam, esh, tmurat ashan. Okay? Now some, they do it with their finger. They go like this, and you do it with your finger, you put it there 3 times. Davar acher biyad chazak. Then we go to the eser makot, shevi Kadosh baruch hu. I'm sorry, I said 15 is going to be 16, you'll see. So then we go to the 10 makot. Dam, Sfardea, Kinim, Arov, Dever, Shechin, Barad, Arbe, Choshech, Makat, Bechorot. And then Rabbi Yehuda Noten Bem Seimanim, Datzach, Adash, Beachab. Okay, so we do all those 3. And after this, since there is a Ruach Tuma somehow that was involved with getting rid of the blood of the Mitzrayim and the Makot, all the bad thing. So you wash my hands over here, like my macharonim, like that. You wash my hands. Some people, they wash mamash. Some people wash a little bit. And this water is dangerous water. It's like my macharonim. You pour it outside. Some people, they would pour it by their enemy's doorstep. Believe it or not. It's all types of stories here. Some people, what they'll do is that they'll just make sure to throw it down the toilet, throw it down the sink, somewhere where people are not going to walk. This is
bottle them and we're going to sell them to people.
I had a bottle in my car that somebody wanted me to keep. It was in my car till Purim. My wife was not happy with me keeping a bottle so long for the guy. They were trying to get a tenant out. And won't tell you the story with that. Yeah, right. Yeah. I got my bottle with me. Don't start with me. So then you get to the 3 things. You have the Dayenu. Rabban Gamliel said you have to say the 3 things. Pesach, matzah, maror. Yes.
You said 15 days, but there's only 14. So what's the 15?
There is a 15.
Kama ma'alot, or is it halacha?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13.
In this where there's 14, and in mine there's 14. But then is it counting Kama ma'alot as the 15th?
There was one I remember that Rav David Abuchatzera mentions, and also I think the Maharal says the same thing, that it is counting one more. Then look, if we say Hotzianu mi Mitzrayim, asebem shivatim, asabelem, marak bechoreim, natanenu mamunam, kara lenu et hayam, v'rem b'tocho b'charava, shikazer b'tocho, siva seinu medbar b'mshana, echlenu et haman, natanenu et hashabak, erodim v'nei Sinai, natanenu et Torah, hichnisan es Yisrael, ubana lenu beta bechira. 15. If you go to the end paragraph, you'll see there's 15 steps. I don't know why Ilu it doesn't count it in that way, but there's one of them that we go to 15. Hotzianu Mitzrayim and banalanu beta bechira. Because you don't have like velo bananu beta b'mikdash. They didn't finish it off. Bananu beta bechira. Okay, so then we have Pesach, matzah, umaror. Pesach, we're not going to show the Korban Pesach. As a matter of fact, the halacha is not to have anything that is roasted on Leila Seder. Ad kedei kach, I saw one posek, right, that even sous vide might be considered roasted. So we stay away from roasted on Leila Seder. You could have it during the day, but not during the night. The Rabbi Baruch Toledano writes, that's our minhag as well, that makom shenagu lo le'echol tzli belel pesach ena mochlim, and that is the minhag as well. Then we have matzah al shuma, matzah that the dough didn't rise. We show the matzah, and then we show the maror.
Sorry,
and
what's not roasted?
we shouldn't have anything roasted Leila Seder, like your main dish
Even the meal.
should not be roasted. It should be cooked.
Uh-huh.
Okay, and that means a lot of times people want to put in the oven something with no juices. They should really have it cooked. It's a minhag, and it's a minhag brought down in the Shulchan Aruch, and that's our minhag as well.
Both nights.
Both nights. Rabbi Baruch writes explicitly both nights. Okay, after we finish the second cup, now it's important. The main difference of Leila Seder between Sfardim and Ashkenazim is that the Ashkenazim actually follow the opinion of the Rif, which is they do 4 brachot, 4 arba kosot, 4 separate borei priya gefens. The Sfaradim say that the first cup exempts the second cup, and the third cup exempts the fourth cup. So the first cup is going to be the bracha of borei priya gefen, and that you have in mind to exempt the second cup. So therefore, so you do Baruch Ata Hashem asher gi'alanu v'gal edavon Mitzrayim v'gianu v'nodeh lecha al gilotem ve'al pedut nafshenu Baruch Ata Hashem ga'al Yisrael. And then you don't make another borei priya gefen. If an Ashkenazi at the table, he should say his own borei priya gefen. Okay? Then you lean for the second cup and you drink. And now we're ready for the next step of Leila Seder. What happens if somebody is very tired and he couldn't get to the second cup without having a coffee? It's a machloket. I saw those, like Rav Shlomo Miller writes, better not to have a coffee because it's taking away from the Hagaddah, and it looks like you're adding on something extra from the cups. And I saw one of the Sefer Shiurei Halacha from Rav Felder. He writes, you are allowed to drink coffee, and because it is helping you to focus for Leila Seder. So if you want a coffee in between your first and second cup, you have what to rely on. Now, and you don't make a bracha because it's exempt with the wine, right? So you finish your cup hagefen. Now we're getting to the next step. It's going to take at least another 10 to 15 minutes. Could we make our own arvit after we finish this? Is that okay? Well, we'll make our own arvit. Whoever didn't pray will find it. I mean, most people didn't pray here? Most people didn't pray? Okay, good. Okay, then we have Kadesh, Urchatz, Karpas, Yachatz, Maggid, Rachatzah. So we're by Rachatzah, Netilat Yadayim. It's Netilat Yadayim with a bracha. Netilat Yadayim with a bracha. That's pretty straightforward. Then we get to Motzi Matzah. Now, matzah, as we mentioned, is a very dear mitzvah. And here, let's speak about how much matzah does a person have to eat on Leila Seder. I don't think you have to have a scale at the meal. There are some people that have scales, but I don't think that it's necessary to have a scale. The Moroccan poskim, the overwhelming majority of the Moroccan poskim were of the opinion that we don't measure a kezait based on the weight, rather we measure according to volume. If you're measuring according to volume, there was the opinion of the Chazon Ish that although by Revi'it he's machmir that it's double, by kezait he said you go according to the kezait, how kezait would be nowadays. That's very, very small. In the Sefer Hilchot Chag B'Chag of Rav Karp, he says that Rav Chaim Kanievsky showed him an Israeli notebook, which is maybe this size. Israeli notebooks are like small like this, smaller. And he showed them 3/4 of it is already maybe 2 kazaites even. So we're talking about very small. That means according to the Chazon Ish, they even have the piece, how he used to have it. It would be a very small amount, maybe like this much is for sure a kazait already. Now, most people will tell you, if you want to have mitzvah deoraita, you should have a full kezait, which is a full matzah like this, and on a big matzah you'll have 2 maybe. That's to fulfill the opinion that say that the size is doubled, and even though Chazon Ish says the size is doubled by kezait, he doesn't say that. I would say that the standard opinion is that anywhere between 21 to 27 grams of weight is where the nefach is. So if you would cut a piece like this and give it to people, you're for sure okay. You're for sure okay. If it's soft matzah, it's even thicker, so it's even less than this. So you don't have to be overzealous exactly how much. As long as you give a person this amount, you're okay. And it's probably even less than that, but I'm being on the safe side here.
The leader has to give each person, or
so this is where I'm going to get to. Is it that the leader has 3 matzot, or Rav Moshe Feinstein suggested that everybody should have 3 matzot in front of them? I haven't seen that by most tables. I think most people, they have a few matzot in front of them. That way, he doesn't have to give out. But in truth, there are 3 ways to do it. One way is that everybody has 3 matzot in front of them. Another way is that everybody has 2 matzot in front of them, whatever they need. And another way is that the balabait keeps on giving out to everyone. All 3 have what to rely on. All 3 have what to rely on, whatever most practical for you. The balabait, the way that he's going to do hamotzi lechem min haaretz, he's going to hold the full matzah, right? Let's switch this to a full one. So he's going to have a full matzah. He's going to make the bracha. He has to make a lechem mishneh on 2 whole ones. The middle one is broken. So he says the first one, Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. He's going to drop the bottom one, and then he's making Asher kiddushanu v'savit tzivanu al achilat matzah. Now, as I mentioned beforehand, the minhag in Morocco was that besides hamotzi and besides kiddush, everybody would make their own bracha. But by hamotzi, everybody listens to the balabait. So so by Karpas, everybody says their own borei pri adama, and by maror, everybody's going to say their borei pri adama. But by matzah, the balabait is going to take these 2 pieces, and he said achilat matzah, and I think the best thing is that everybody should have in front of them some matzah, and the balabait should cut a little bit of the matzah and try to give out so that they taste a little bit from the matzah, because there is an inyan to taste from the matzah for chavivut advarim. But the balabait should give out quickly a little bit of matzah to everyone, and then you lean. Now, how long does it take to eat a kazait? 4 minutes. It should be done within 4 minutes, but you don't have to sit with a stopwatch. As long as you're eating, and you're eating relatively quickly, that's the advantage of soft matzah, by the way, that you could eat it so quickly. Of course, it's going to be under 4 minutes. Also, of course, you could swallow it in one shot because it's not as cumbersome as as a brill matzah. Those are the advantages of soft matzah. But those who eat regular matzah like this, so you just have to make sure that you're not eating it very, very slow. Make sure that people are eating it at a normal pace. You don't have to make everyone crazy. Just everyone should know to try to finish it at a certain time. Leaning, everyone, men, women, and a woman who didn't lean has to do it over again in this time because it's a mitzvah deoraita. I'm sorry. It could be she has the ravia to rely on, but definitely leaning should be done by everybody lechatchila, and a man who didn't lean, he has to go over it again. Okay, we're getting there. So we do by motzi matzah. We try not to speak from the beginning of motzi matzah until the sandwich. Because now we're going quickly. Motzi matzah. Okay, so he ate the kazait. Everybody finished their kazait. Maror. Everybody has lettuce in front of them. How much lettuce? Also a kazait. Imagine I don't have maror with me. Sorry, my props are not that good. So you imagine a kazait of this, a piece of lettuce like this. Everybody has maror. Now, you remember when I told you that I saw certain things in my home that I thought were wrong, and I found out are not so simple that they're wrong, was that there are two types of charosets in Morocco. There's those that are made like the little mini meatballs, and there's those that were made like a paste. You know what I'm talking about? So, maror, by many Moroccan families, what I found out is that they put the charoset, they fold it into the maror, and a person eats the maror with charoset. Now, if you open up the Shulchan Aruch, it seems to fly against the Shulchan Aruch. The Shulchan Aruch says that you should shake off the charoset because it's going to nullify the taste of the maror. So I thought that it's all wrong, and I said, no, from now on we have to dip and then shake. We have to make a different type of charoset, and we have to shake it off and make sure it's okay. Little did I know afterwards, I found out in the Hagaddah, Kol Dodi of Rav David Feinstein, he says that this minhag of putting the charoset inside is fine, because nowadays we don't put the whole maror inside. We don't take a part of the maror with the charoset, so you could keep the charoset inside if that's your minhag, and he justifies that minhag. So whatever your minhag is, you could keep on doing it, but the Shulchan Aruch says you should shake off the maror. But if you're going to have a little bit of charoset on the maror, you don't have to worry. That's fine, as long as it's not fully. Maror is not done behasiba, it's for bitter herbs. Imagine, by Ashkenazim they have horseradish. How you know how hard that is? Having horseradish, that's for sure very difficult, the maror, and it's not done behasiba. Then is korech, which is the sandwich, right? Basically, you're putting stuff inside, and you're putting the charoset, you're putting the maror, and you say zecher lemigdash keile lazaken shekorchon v'chol batecha lekemash lemar al matzot umrim yocheluhu. Okay, korech is done. I'm moving quickly because we want to finish this up over here. Yeah, exactly. Once you get the korech, shulchan orech, the meal. You're at the meal. Great, everybody should have a fun time. You try to finish before Chatzot. Okay? Chatzot is at 12:59, 12:58 this year. You try to finish having the afikomen. The last thing after, what's the last thing by Shulchan Aruch? Orech. Not the chocolate souffle and not the fruits. That is the pre-dessert. What's the real dessert? The afikomen. Here it is. The child found it. You offered him to buy him 3 scooter bikes or whatever it is nowadays. The price went up. He finds it, and you eat the afikomen. How much you have to eat? So remember, by motzi matzah, you have to eat a kezait. The balabait should eat a kezait, 2 kezaits, because of both of the mitzvah. But everybody else eats 1 kezait. By afikomen, lechatchila, if you could eat 2 kezaits, it would be nice. 1 zecher la korban chagiga and 1 zecher la korban pesach. But 1 kezait is also okay. Person eats. They already.
Like the motzi, where you give everyone a little bit.
Yes, everybody has. Oh, yes. No, you don't have to. No, I'm sorry. No, you don't have to. It's not like on motzi that everybody has taste for motzi. But it would be proper to have the afikomen, a kezait, and you have to lean. And that is the last thing that you are eating. After that, no eating. Besides your grape juice, your wine, nothing else. Not even no coffee, no nothing. You're having, after the afikomen, you're finished. Besides seltzer, you could have seltzer, unflavored. Anyways, flavor is not kosher Pesach. So unflavored seltzer. Okay, so then we are getting to, after that's tzafun, which is the afikomen, we get the barech, which is birkat hamazon. Here, you're filling up your cup, the third cup. You have in mind with the third cup that you will be fulfilling the fourth cup, the fourth cup as well. So we have birkat hamazon. We say the whole beautiful birkat hamazon, and then we say Baruch Ata Hashem Borei Peri HaGefen. You drink birkat hamazon. What about the fifth cup? Kos shel Eliyahu. There are many families in Morocco that didn't have kos shel Eliyahu, and many that did. So that you could do your minhag. Rabbi Yosef Misas writes about the kos shel Eliyahu. And it seems to be in northern Morocco, the Spanish Morocco did not have a kos shel Eliyahu. What? You could pour it now already, or you could pour it at the beginning of the meal, that it's always there in the middle of the table. Yeah, but people don't usually drink it. Kos shel Eliyahu is not drunk. Because you have 4 kosot. You don't want to add on the kosot. So at this point, we say, Shefoch hamatchei lagoyim. I heard from my Rebbe, Rabbi Israel Orbach, that he would have Leila Seder with his father-in-law, Rabbi Elyashiv, the great Rabbi Elyashiv. And for some reason, Rabbi Elyashiv was a very, we'll call it, not very emotional person. When he got to this, remember, Rabbi Elyashiv was the grandson of the Leshem, one of the greatest Mikubalim after the, from the last of the great Mikubalim. He would get up and he would say, Shefoch hamatchei lagoyim, with the red face. People were, Mamash, it was scary. He told me, like Rabbi Yisrael Baruch told me, it was scary to see Rabbi Elyashiv during Shefoch hamatchei lagoyim. They open up the door, Eliyahu Navi, is Eliyahu Navi there? Shefoch, right? Is Shefoch there? It's a joke, that's how people say, is Shefoch there? And then right away you get to Hallel. You sing Hallel, everyone sings it together, and you're getting to the Nishmat, Yishtabach, and the last cup. The last cup, instead, that you should be careful to drink actually a revi'it. Why? Because you want to make an ala gefen ve'al pri gefen. You want to have enough to say the bracha of ala gefen. So here you have it that you finished Baruch Hashem till Barech and Nirtzah. So Kadesh, Urchatz, Karpas, Yachatz, Maggid, matzah, Korech, Shulchan Aruch, Tzafun, Barech, Haled, Nirtzah. After that, you have the songs, Hagaddah in Arabic, and Echad Miyodea in English, and in Arabic, whatever you want, however long you want to do it. And after that, Shira Shirim, however long you could do it. And then those who want to stay up all night, Gam Baruch Yeh, right? Because it's mitzvah to stay, L'saper Yitzad Mitzrayim. And then we hope that the shul makes davening prayers later that morning. But that's basically, in a nutshell, the overview of the Leila Seder. Once again, with some of the halachot. I didn't cover everything, but you should follow how it was done by your parents' home. Chazak u'baruch. הגיע הזמן